The following podcast contains language that some viewers may find upsetting. Hi guys, and welcome to the CPFC podcast with me, your host, Alfonso Greenbrook. Today in Pod 7, I'll be looking over the result over Liverpool, and we'll be discussing the match, player rankings, my man of the match, as well as talking about the controversial penalty. And later on, we'll be hearing from Pardew and what he had to say after the game. So let's begin. Before we start, I would just like to clarify my view on the penalty. And before I start with that, I'd just like to say how Benteke was a fucking cheating bastard. So obviously that's the swearing out of the way. Obviously you did see the warning at the beginning of the video, but that's all I'm going to say because I'm going to try and keep it controlled. But that was how angry I was after the game. But moving on to the decision, I've looked over the replays from many different angles. I've seen pictures that have been zoomed in to show facial expressions and also the contact. I've heard from what other managers have had to say. So obviously around the Premier League, obviously Pardew and Klopp. I've heard from past and present referees, so they've given their opinion. And also fans, and obviously the fans have started a petition to get Benteke banned and Liverpool deducted 6 points. Not really going to make a difference, but most people are just signing it for a laugh because they know that it's not going to work. But the principle's there. There should be no place for cheating in football. And obviously, having looked back at the videos and pictures, there was contact, and I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to be one of these fans who denies there was contact, but there was not enough contact to warrant the way he dived, okay? Because if you look at the pictures, the contact was like, basically, it was literally you touching two fingers together. It weren't like he completely taped out his legs, so there was no way it warranted the way he dived. And obviously, past referees who, being some of the best in the world have come forward and said, actually, if I was a referee in that game, I wouldn't have given it, because the way he dived, and obviously it wasn't the referee who gave the decision. We need to remember this on Sunday. It was actually the linesman. And obviously it's a bit unfair for the linesman to give it, because the way Delaney went into the tackle, he had his back to the linesman, so the linesman couldn't see it. And obviously the referee saw it and said it wasn't a penalty because of the angle he saw it, and he saw there was minimal contact, and it looked like, from the way Benteke dived, that he got completely taken out and it looked like he'd been shot, whereas actually it was just minimal contact, like you were touching your two fingers together. And then after the game, the stupid idiot came forward and said, Benteke, and said, I don't think I got touched, or I think I got touched. And that obviously suggests that really it shouldn't have been a penalty, because he got touched a little bit, and even he's admitted it himself, that really he shouldn't have dived. But at the end of the day, you win games sometimes by penalties, and we won it the playoff by a penalty, so I'm not really going to discuss about that. But really, it shouldn't really been a penalty. And obviously, that's my view, and obviously a view of many other people. And if you do have an opinion about it, drop it in the comments below. I know a few Liverpool fans will probably be listening to it, so drop your comments below as well. And obviously, if you go onto my Instagram, which is at CPFC Podcast, you will find videos and pictures which I'll post when I post the podcast of the penalty decision. But now we've finished with this, and I've just clarified up my decision, which is, or my opinion, which is, it shouldn't have been a penalty, even though there was minimal contact. But obviously the way he dived didn't warrant the way he got touched, the tackle. So now we've finished with this. Now to move on to my normal match review. A controversial penalty by Christian Benteke in the final minute of stoppage time snatched an undeserved victory for Liverpool after Palace had put in a fine performance at Selhurst Park. The Belgian striker went down in the box in the match's final action under pressure from Damien Delaney, although replays have suggested there was minimal contact between the two. However, Andrew Meyer pointed to the spot after consulting with his linesman, and Benteke dispatched to the kick spot to condemn Palace to defeat. Things had looked rosy for the hosts when Joe Ledley's goal 3 minutes after half-time gave Alan Pardew's side the lead, and they received another flip when James Milner was sent off soon after. However, a slip by Alex McCarthy gifted Roberto Firmino the chance to equalise before the last gasp winner from Jurgen Klopp's men. Palace started with a front two of Yannick Bolasie and Emmanuel Adebayor, who linked up impressively in the opening 10 minutes. Firstly, a Senegalese striker played in Bolasie, who saw his effort smoothly read by Simon Mignolet, and then Adebayor forced the Reds keeper into a good one-handed stop with a shot just outside the box. After that was cleared for a Palace throw-in, he battled Devlin Lovren for the ball on the byline and forced the Croatian to hoof it straight to Papaswari. The left-back had a touch before crossing it to Adebayor, who nodded against the crossbar with Mignolet beaten. It was all Palace in the first 25 minutes, and Johan Cabaye saw a first-time effort from outside the box ripple the side netting when he picked out Wilfried Zaha, but the Reds showed some menace soon after when Origi went for a curler on the top corner which flashed over McCarthy's bar. Milner then had a free kick in a dangerous position which deflected off Bolasie and spun goalwards, but thankfully from Eagles' perspective off target as a strong 45 minutes from the home side drew to a close. But 3 minutes after the restart, the pressure told as Alan Pardew's men went ahead. A corner was swung into the area and came off Suarez, who drilled the ball to goalwards, but it was blocked. And then after Scott Down, a second effort came off a Liverpool defender. From the edge of the area, Ledley drilled the rebound low into the bottom corner to score against the Reds at Selhurst Park for the second season in a row. Then, after the hour mark, Palace were given a massive boost when the visitors were reduced to 10 men, with seemingly very little danger on their own half. Milner, who'd been booked in the first half for a foul on Cabaye, clumsily brought down Bolasie and was shown a second yellow and was sent to the dressing room by Maria with no complaints. Despite the disadvantage, only a last-ditch interception by Delaney prevented Adam Lallana cutting back from being finished off by Origi, but on 71 minutes, the Reds were handed a way back into the game. Ledley played a routine back pass to McCarthy, who slipped when he attempted to clear the ball, and it went perfectly to Firmino to slide past the unfortunate goalkeeper. The chances continued to be created by Klopp's side, and Benteke almost scored with his first touch when he steered a corner on target by McCarthy was equal to it. And then with 3 minutes remaining, Alberto Monreal saw a dive from 30 yards clatter off the inside of the post and away from danger as Palace breathed a sigh of relief. However, in the final seconds of the encounter, Benteke chased the ball into the area and was followed by Damien Delaney after the sliding defender's knee touched his foot and the striker won a penalty. He then coolly sent McCarthy the wrong way from 12 yards to once again ensure Palace suffered a last gasp heartache for the second time in 5 days and extended their winless run in the league to 12 games. Now to move on to the player rankings. So this week, Alex McCarthy was in goal instead of the injured Wayne Hennessy, and Alex McCarthy got a 5. McCarthy made some pretty straightforward saves, and although it's harsh, his unfortunate slip did cost Palace dearly. So obviously, McCarthy made some pretty good saves during that game, obviously, to keep us in the game, but obviously did make that unfortunate slip, which may be caused, to some fans' perspective, by the fact that the pitches are too watered. So obviously at half-time they watered the pitches, but according to some fans, they believe that the reason he slipped was because the pitches were too slippy. But a 5 for Alex McCarthy. Now also, like I say all weeks, if you do disagree with some of the rankings or you have your own opinions, just put them in the comments below and I'll try and see what I can add to it, see if I agree with what you think, and that will be much appreciated. So now to move on to the defence. So Joe Ward, a 6, a solid yet unspectacular game by the right back, who dealt with pretty much all that came his way. So Ward, once again, having a pretty good game, not doing anything spectacular like cutting across, but he's able to do a solid shift in the defence and obviously, stop them from scoring. Obviously, he didn't stop them from scoring, but obviously that's mainly because of the penalty decision, which I did talk about at the beginning, but I'm going to try not to talk about that. But obviously, a good game by him again, and obviously solidifying his position, obviously, in the team after Suarez came back. Now, Scott Dann, centre of defence, a 7, was unaffected by the early cut above his eye, and obviously you can see many of the pictures where he's got a really big bandage on his head. But an early booking meant he couldn't be aggressive as he would liked. He dealt with pretty much everything that came his way. So obviously a good performance from Dan, was able to clear any danger. Obviously in the instance of their 2 goals, one was a McCarthy mistake, another one was obviously the penalty. But pretty good performance then, once again by Dan, what you would expect of Dan. And yeah, generally a solid game. And even though he got injured within the first 10-20 minutes, he still carried on and had a good game. Now, Damien Delaney, this is controversial. I think it's fair. Others may think it should be lower because he conceded the penalty. But I'm going to go with this. I think this is a fair, reflects his performance, let's say. A 6 for Damien Delaney. He defended well for most of the game. And although contact on Belletti was minimal at best, he is experienced enough to know he shouldn't have gone to the ground in this situation. So obviously saying that, like Dan, very good game. We can always rely on him to be defensive. And like I said, the contact was minimal. Shouldn't really have dived in that respect. But obviously he's 34 years old. He's been playing football for a very long time. And I would expect him to know better at this age. But to be honest, we just move on to the next game. Hopefully he would learn by this mistake and try to improve. Now, Papa Suarez, obviously, came back from suspension. Obviously, he looked much, much fitter. Obviously, he's had 3 games rest because of his suspension, and he's looked a lot better. And obviously, Papa Suarez is 7. Suarez was as effective as tracking back as he was getting up forward in support of Palace's attackers. So that's something that's really good about Suarez, the fact that he's quite a good defender, not the best, but he's able to get back, and also he's actually very good at going forward and supporting the players. And actually, he's one of the players that I will actually want to get a goal this season. Obviously, he hasn't scored yet this season. He's assisted loads, but I want him to get a goal because he deserves that. He's got a very good attacking sense as well as his defensive sense. And defensive. So yeah, defensive. Yeah, he's good at defensive and attacking ways of playing. Sorry, I got muddled there with my words. But now to move on to the captain, Mile Jednak. Obviously, was able to keep his position in the side with Connor Wickham out injured. So obviously they would normally play 4-4-2 with Adebayor and Wickham up front. But obviously Wickham is out injured. So Mile Jednak a 6. Jednak didn't have a great game, however you want to say it, to be honest, because in my opinion I thought he had an alright game, so a good game, let's say. Because considering the last few games he's looked quite tired, he's misplaced passes, he did actually have a good game. And it says here about his passing wasn't good, but it's better than what it's been before. And he did leave a few gaps of space, where he should have been there. But obviously that didn't really punish us where it was in the midfield. But a pretty good game from Jednak. Probably when Wickham come back, we'll probably go back to 4-4-2 and he'll probably be dropped. But a pretty good, solid performance by the captain again. Now, Joe Ledley, a 7. Ledley scored with a smart finish and did well to disrupt Liverpool when they tried to play around him. So, obviously, Ledley played in the middle of the park, done quite well at defending, was able to go forward as well. Obviously, scored the goal, a very good strike. He was able, like Cabaye, to find brilliant passes to get chips over forward, was able to track back as well as getting forward. So, quite a solid performance from Ledley, and actually one of my people running for man of the match. Now to move on to the big star, Johan Cabaye. A 6, a solid display from Cabaye, as usual. But he never looked like he was going to control the game, which Palace need from him. And obviously with Jednak and Ledley playing further back, it meant that Cabaye was in a more advanced role. But he wasn't really able to exploit that, and I think it'll be better with us playing. If we do have them three, Cabaye, Jednak and Ledley, you'll be better playing all three of them as defensively and letting someone like Suarez link up more with Balassi by getting forward more, and that would probably work more. But on the right performance, an average performance, Johan Cabaye, what you would expect of him, was able to find passes, just like Ledley to be honest, and was able to have a slight control of the game, not the best, but was able to make some decisions. Now, Yannick Balassi, I'm quite surprised at this considering he was probably one of our best attacking options, but obviously he wasn't as effective as he's been in past games. But Yannick Balassi, a 6. Early on, Balassi looked like he might dominate the game as he put pressure on Liverpool's defence. However, he shaded into the second half. So obviously, like I said in the match report, he did start very brightly, him and Suarez linking up well. But towards the end of the game, he sort of, I think, because he's come back from injury, his pace was still slowing him down. But generally a good performance for him. Like I said, like always, our best attacking option on the pitch, was able to get forward. Also, very good at tracking back as well. When he needs to track back, when obviously they're on a very fast counter, he would, because he's one of the faster players, so can catch up with other fast players. Now to move on to Wilfried Zaha. Once again, the best attacking option we've got on the pitch. And obviously we've got quite a lot of good, solid attacking players. But Zaha had a good battle with Alberto Monreal, which probably finished with honours even. He looked dangerous on the counter-attack, as proven when Milner brought him down. So obviously, he's played really well. He's able to be defensive as well by blocking players, having good battles with them. And obviously, he did play really well in that defensive role as well. And obviously, like I said there, he should have been given an award for it. Obviously, that's just to make the report sound interesting. But also, like Balassi, he was very dangerous on the counter-attack, and now, because Balassi's back, there's less pressure on him, meaning he can get forward more, whereas in the past there was 3 players on him. Now there's only 2 or even 1 player on him, so he's able to get forward more. And like I said, the last few games he's been improving at tracking back and marking players. So a very good performance from Wilfried Zaha. Now, Emmanuel Adebayor, a 6. Now obviously, as you heard in the report, he did almost score on 2 or 3 occasions. Obviously had that header which deflected off the post. He had 2 other ones which were saved by Mignolet. So a good game from him, but obviously only a 6. The striker was unlucky not to score in the first half and worked hard. His hold-up play should have been better in the first half though. So obviously that's one thing that he's not quite as good at as Wickham. Obviously Wickham's very good at holding up the play as well as having pretty powerful shots, whereas Adebayor's he's more precise with headering. He's got a powerful shot as well, but he's not really good at holding up the ball, and that's why him and Wickham play, because he's able to get the shots on, whereas Wickham's able to hold the ball on and pass it to him. But an alright performance from Emmanuel Adebayor, 6. Not the best performance, but obviously what you would expect of a player of his ability, and considering his age. Now the substitutes, there was obviously 3 substitutes, and obviously that was Jordan Much, Dwight Gale and Bakary Sacco, and they were all 5s to be honest, because they really, when they came on, they were really unnoticed because they didn't really have a big impact on the game. And obviously in past weeks, I haven't really given ratings for them, but, you know, we need to give them ratings and just say how good they were. And obviously a 5 for them. So now you've heard my match review and player rankings. Now it's time for my man of the match. So my man of the match for this week, I have a few nominations. I'm going to say Emmanuel Adebayor, Joe Ledley, Wilfried Zaha, and also Yannick Balassi. So obviously they were, I would say in my opinion, the 4 best attacking players we had on the pitch. Obviously Adebayor had the headers which almost went in. Obviously a few of the powerful strikes as well. Joe Ledley obviously scored the goal that we got. Also, he's very good in the defensive role as well as getting forward. Obviously, Wilfried Zaha, like always, and Balassi, for that instance, they were both the best attacking options on the pitch, and also were able to track back if they needed to. Obviously, good at getting the crosses into the area and all of that, basically. But based not only on the goal, but on his all-round performance, coming in, working well with Jedinak, linking up well with Kabay, I'm going to go for Joe Ledley for my man of the match for this week. So congratulations, Joe Ledley. But to be honest, it was a quite close competition this week because there was very good attacking sense from all the players. So there you have it. That's my podcast review. Now we're going to listen to what Pardew had to say after the game.
After Sunderland, that's a upfield to swallow today.
Yep.
Yeah. Jurgen Klopp thinks there was a penalty.
I think everyone's seen the penalty. I think if you're the referee and you see that incident, you see the centre half pulling out of the challenge, you don't give the penalty, and I don't think he did. The linesman assumes that little touch is a penalty. He makes the most of it, and he gives it. Oh, it's tough to take, that is.
How when did a little touch become enough to warrant a penalty?
Well, if you think that touch affects the fall that he has, then you seriously need to be consulted. I'm a football person. That touch doesn't warrant the dive that he makes. And it's the dive that, of course, that makes the linesman's mind up. I think it's an issue that's worrying in the game. People looking for, and I heard Jamie Carragher say, you know, if someone's going to touch you, you're going to make the most of it. Jamie Carragher saying that. He's an ex-pro. Come on. You know, it is tough take.
Who's your frustration with? Is it with the linesman? Is it with Benteke for making, you know,
Both of them. Both of them. Really frustrated with that because, you know, we were all, you know, you try to be fair, you try to say the right things to your players and try to send out the right message to players to be honest and everything. And that touch doesn't warrant that dive. If that warrants a collapse like that, then wow, you really need to go, oh, come on. That's what's frustrating.
Is something that needs to be tracked down?
Well, we've had decisions where Wilf gets completely wiped out in situations, and there was I think it was one at Norwich yesterday. It looked like a certain penalty to me, not given, and that one, wow! If you're going to give that in that time of the game, and the process of the game was in, you got to be sure, and you couldn't have been sure. I mean, we're looking at in super slow motion. It's a knee on the back of the foot. You know, it's hardly a touch. Anyway, let's get away from that. We was really disappointing after we scored for me because up until that period we were great, as good as we've been, and I'm frustrated with the referee. I'm frustrated with the way that we didn't push on when they went down to 10 men. And I'm frustrated with the substitutes who I thought should have all done better. So, you know, I'm frustrated with myself as much as anything else. And we have to kind of go, okay, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can do about the penalty decision. There's nothing we can do about the result today. But what we can put right is that last 15 minutes. And that's what we're going to have to talk about and say, well, we never pushed on at that stage. And that was the biggest sort of downside of the game today.
Did the slip turn the game, Alex's slip?
Sorry?
Do you think the slip obviously turned the game, Alex?
Yeah, the mistake affected us and made us nervous. And because we haven't won for a while, of course, that compounded that. When you're struggling for a win in the league, you know, you have to react well to that. And one or two didn't, if I'm honest. And that's kind of human nature a little bit, but also something I've got to try and eradicate. And the way the game unfolded today was really not good for us. We have to really kind of repair that last 15, 20 minutes, because the first 60 minutes up until then, really and truly, Addy was terrific. Balassi was causing problems. We looked sound. Yo got a knock, which kind of affected us, subbing him, but you know, we still should have pushed on and kept the ball better at that stage.
Like if you did just clarify, simply suggesting Joe
No, I don't think that's true.
So the way you say the way you started the game and the way I linked up with Belletti and Marley, I give you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got some positives today, and of course, I'll reflect on them tomorrow.
So there, now you've heard what Pardew had to say. That concludes my match review of Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. But be sure to come back next week for my pre- and post-match review of Crystal Palace versus Reading, or Reading versus Crystal Palace if you want to be pedantic, and that game will be in the FA Cup. So thanks for watching, and remember to up the Palace.